Last night, the Carolina Hurricanes wrapped up their 5-game Western Conference road trip. We recap that entire road trip as well as speculate on the Ethan Bear situation. All that in this episode of Locked On Hurricanes.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, Caniacs. I'm your host, Jared Ellis, and you're listening to Locked On Hurricanes on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And as always, thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen of the day. Without you, there is no Locked On Hurricanes. So thank you, fans. And don't forget to follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at LO_Hurricanes and myself on Twitter at JaredEllis_96. And subscribe to the show on YouTube. And as I mentioned, the Carolina Hurricanes wrapped up their Western Conference road trip last night in Vancouver. So now we don't have to deal with those super late start times for a little bit. I know they were killing me, folks. They were killing me, but they are over and done with now. So we don't have to worry about that. And as a whole, the road trip, I feel it was okay. It was okay. Not great, but okay. They went 3-1-1 on this road trip with wins in San Jose, Seattle, and Vancouver. Vancouver being last night. And got a total of 7 of 10 points on this road trip. They took a regulation loss in Edmonton. That was the first one of the season. And then following that one, they had an overtime loss in Calgary. And they're 4-1-1 on the season now. And yeah, like I said, this road trip, it was okay. Wasn't great. And like I said, the 3-1-1, the 7 out of 10 points, that's fine. This is all still very, very early in the season, so not going to melt down and act like, the team's a failure or anything like that. No, I'm not going to do that because it's not. It's still really early. Again, we have played 4, 5, 6 games this season out of 82. There's a lot of hockey left to play. So we aren't even out of the month of October yet. So a lot of these issues that I've seen over this road trip is stuff that I feel in time is going to work itself out. And I've been saying that all along. You have the some of the ones that I've had the most issues with has been the power play. While it has looked okay and good at times, just as a whole, it hasn't looked great. And I do think of, a lot of new faces there on the power play unit. So I do, take that into consideration how early it is in the season. But I know I've said it and I've seen a lot of other people talk about it on social media is the reason folks are so concerned about the power play right now 6 games into the season is because of the issues we've had with the power play in the past, of just how dry it looks and just not great. No, and sometimes just not even good. So that's why I am a little more concerned about the power play than say, the offense, not necessarily being there at times. The Edmonton game being a very big example of that with Andrei Svechnikov doing almost all of the work and him getting his first career regular season hat trick in that game. Natchez netting a goal as well, and yet they still lose. So I do feel the offense as time goes on, it will get better, but the power play is going to be the one area where I want to see it improve the most. PK has been the same, in my opinion. While it obviously has been better than the power play, there at times it has left something to be desired, and it just hasn't looked to be the same PK as we've known over the past couple years. Again, still very early in the season, and as a whole, with this road trip, 3-1-1, 7 out of 10 points. I think that's fine, because I didn't expect them to sweep this road trip. I expected them to drop at least one game in Edmonton or Calgary. San Jose, Seattle, Vancouver, those were supposed to be wins, and they did win those. And Edmonton, Calgary, those were the teams that were going to be the tough test, and we lost both of them. Yeah, you got Calgary into overtime, which is fine. You got a point out of it, which is good. But those were the games where things really just kind of the issues reared their head a bit more, because those are the caliber opponents you're put up with in terms of standings in the NHL and the teams come playoff time. I know they're obviously Western Conference, but those are going to be like the caliber teams you're against. You're going to be against tougher teams. You're not going to be playing a San Jose or Seattle level team in the playoffs. So the Hurricanes do have work to do, but it is still very early in the season. I'm not ready to freak out or anything like that. But like I said, the power play is something that I do really want to see improve. And I do think it will. As time goes on this season, I do think it will improve. Same with the penalty killing. While it's, again, better than power play, I think it could use a little work, and just as guys settle into their roles for the year. And we talk about guys settling into their roles. You got some guys that are really absolutely killing it right now, and we will talk about those guys right after this quick break, folks. Now, folks, our partner for today is Athletic Greens. Athletic Greens is a lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy free, or gluten free. AG1 is going to be lifestyle friendly for whatever lifestyle you do, and it contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals or artificial anything, while still tasting good. And it supports better sleep quality and recovery. We've obviously been dealing with a lot of late night games as of late, so AG1 can help you out with that. It also supports mental clarity and alertness. And one of the best things is that Athletic Greens uses the best of the best products based on the latest science with constant product iterations and third-party testing, and it costs you less than $3 a day. So you're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit, and it's cheaper than getting all of the different supplements you spend on. And you're investing in all-in-one nutritional insurance. And Athletic Greens has over 7,000 five-star reviews. It's trusted by health experts such as Tim Ferriss and Michael Gervais, and is recommended by professional athletes. So right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop of water in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1 year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL network. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/NHL network to take ownership of your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Now, folks, I mentioned, we were obviously talking about things that need to be improved upon, power play being the biggest of the bunch, but there's been a lot of good that has came out of this road trip. And the MVP of this road trip was by far Andrei Svechnikov. The kid is on an absolute tear this season. He's had at least 1 point in every single game this season so far, and he is absolutely killing it. We talked about, his first career hat trick in Edmonton. You look at the Seattle game, he had 2 goals there. He had that awesome strip and set up Martin Necas in San Jose. Then you get to Calgary, you get to Vancouver, and it just keeps going. And he is on an absolute tear this year. And we said, talked about it before, but he's leading the team in so much. He's obviously leading the team in goals with 7 right now, but he's also tied for the league lead in goals with Steven Stamkos, also with those 7 goals. And he's tied in the team lead for points with 9 points with Sebastian Aho. He leads the team in power play goals with 3 goals so far. And, we've said that we want Andre to take a step up and, be that forward we know he can be. He has an extremely high ceiling and can be, such a dominant player. And he's really, really doing that. He's, you know, obviously been really good defensively, for the majority of his career, aside from, he kinda had one down year. But, offensive wise, he finally cracked 30 goals last year, and he's picking up where he left off, and he's absolutely killing it right now. And I'm predicted that we'd see his first All-Star game appearance. And while I know it's not necessarily the, end all be all of, career achievements. But he's such a good player. The Hurricanes have invested so much in him over the past few years. For him to just be playing on this level is absolutely fantastic, and I'm really enjoying seeing it. I really do hope he can continue to play at a high level. I know multiple goal nights, maybe a bit much to ask, but I mean, he's absolutely killing it and really putting the team on his back over this entire road trip. We go back to that Edmonton game, goes out there and scores a freaking hat trick and doing absolutely all he can to get his team to win. And he's really taking a massive step forward this season. Again, it is still very early. So, we've seen guys, regardless of whether it's hockey, baseball, football, basketball, whatever, guys get off to really hot starts like this and then kind of peter out. So, I'm not ready to, hail him as, Hart Trophy candidate yet. But, he's playing at an extremely high level. And I'm really enjoying seeing it. I do hope he can continue it. Martin Necas being another guy that was really, really good on this road trip and has been really good for the team as a whole this year so far. And, him being a guy that, like Andre, a couple years ago, having a down year last year, not necessarily living up to the expectations that were put on him. And now having him be off to this sort of start is really, really good. And I do hope he is able to continue this and not take a step back like he did last year. That's going to be big for him. I want to see him be able to continue this. Brent Burns quietly had a really, really good road trip. And I mentioned, for him and Stefan Nazin, that I feel it's really only a matter of time before they get their first goals as Hurricanes. Both of those guys, having 4 points so far, all coming on this road trip. And like I said, Brent Burns quietly having a absolutely great road trip. There's obviously been little hiccups here and there, from everyone, but I'm really enjoying what I'm seeing from Burns as a whole so far this season. And just the defense as a whole, I think, yes, it hasn't been great, but it's also been gelling well. And it's been at least fun to watch. I know the third pairing, especially last night, really pulled a big load. And I'm really excited to see where this goes. There's obviously been a bit of talk about one of our defensemen of what could be his fate, and that is, of course, Ethan Bear. And we will talk about Ethan Bear and what could potentially be his fate and the reports surrounding him right after this quick break. All right, folks. Now, with Ethan Bear, he obviously hasn't played at all this year so far. And he didn't play at all in the playoffs last year either. So I speculated at the end of the season that he wasn't going to be back. But he signed an extension. I believe it was 2 years. But Yeah, he didn't look great in the preseason. Same with camp, did not look all that great. And, we got Jagger here that's wanting to talk about Ethan Bear and, what all he thinks about that situation. But, with Ethan Bear, reports are coming out that his time with the Hurricanes is going to be coming to an end. And it's likely going to be sooner rather than later, as far as him being on the move. Um, I do think because with Ethan Barrett, the report is, he wants to play, but the Hurricanes have no interest in playing him. So I do think a trade definitely on the cards. And he has the potential. He does. And I think, a lot of folks were talking about at the end of the preseason that they felt following that he was probably going to be moved. Didn't look great. He just needs a change of scenery. It's just not working here. So it sucks because I know a lot of folks, had high expectations for Ethan Bear coming into his Hurricanes tenure following that trade with Edmonton for Warren Fogle. But he had that good start, but then he got COVID and that just kind of tanked everything. And it'll be interesting to see what he can fetch as far as a trade goes. I do think they're more they're more apt to trade him rather than say him getting put on waivers and then sent to Chicago. Uh, I think that there's going to be a market for him. It's just what will the trade be? Because I feel like before last season, he had a bit more value. Not saying he's bad by any stretch. I'm not saying that. But he didn't have a good season last year. So that's going to hurt his value. And then he didn't play at all in the playoffs. I think, people are going to notice that. And then people are also going to notice that he hasn't played at all this year. And, going back to the preseason, didn't look good in preseason either. So I feel teams are going to notice that. And where he goes, I'm not 110% sure. I know, like the lineups, were announced last night for Vancouver and their blue line not looking great. So I mean, they'd be in need of a defenseman, and the Hurricanes, they're loaded at defenseman. Looking at moving one. Yeah, I could see just a defenseman needy team, like a Vancouver being on the cards. It's just what are the Hurricanes going to be able to fetch for him in the trade? I think, because you don't really need a whole lot of in the way of players, at least on your NHL side. You're loaded in prospect aspect of things. Not saying they wouldn't get a prospect, but I feel like you're going to be looking more at some draft picks for Ethan Bear, and I think you're maybe a third rounder. Uh, I think that's kind of where you're looking at because, he does still have, some good upside there. It just hasn't worked for the Hurricanes. I don't think he's going to fetch a whole lot, but ultimately at the end of the day, we're just going to have to wait and see how this trade or potentially goes. Again, nothing has really came out as far as a potential trade partner that I've seen, and so, Vancouver, just the first team that popped in my head of, someone that need, defenseman. So where he goes, I'm not sure. But again, the report is that it's going to be coming sooner rather than later. So I would honestly expect to hear some sort of development on that by the end of the week. And if you remember, Don Waddell said in that opening night interview during the intermission that that team we saw then may not be the same one that we see whenever they come back, to play the Islanders here in a couple days. So that is something got to keep in mind there. We're already warned that that could be the case. And that could have been the case, heading in there, that they knew, like, all right, we're probably not going to be playing him, and we need to find, a trade partner. That could have been the case then. I don't know. I'm obviously not in, those offices, so I don't know at the end of the day what's going on, as far as Ethan Bear, but expect him to be moved soon. I would say probably, end of the week, we may have more of an update on him. We also, now that the Hurricanes are back in Raleigh, or soon to be back in Raleigh, are likely going to hear an update on Onjeri Kase, because he didn't, play on this road trip because of a concussion. So we're likely going to hear an update. I know somebody asked Walt Ruff yesterday on Twitter about an update on Kasha, and he said, really not a whole lot. We'll know more whenever we get back to Raleigh. So that's another one I do expect. We could probably hear something, this weekend or whenever they start practicing again, really, as far as Andre Kasha. I think they have the day off today, I think. So, if they have the day off, we're obviously not going to hear anything at all. But if, they are practicing, it wouldn't surprise me if we do end up hearing something, but I don't think they are. I think it would probably be more tomorrow that we end up hearing something as far as Andre Kasha. But we'll talk obviously about Kasha. We'll talk about Ethan Bear, as well as any other moves that the Hurricanes end up making over the coming days and the season as a whole. We'll talk about it here on Locked On Hurricanes. So make sure you are following the show on Twitter and Instagram at LO_Hurricanes, and myself on Twitter at Jared Ellis _96, and subscribe to the show on YouTube and turn on that notification bell. And I will talk to you guys in the next episode.